Okay, let's jump into the lessons learned from agroforestry. Now, the first time I came to visit you at the farm, it was after this podcast, and you were kind of showing me you were learning as you were going.
Right.
So you're teaching me, okay, if I want to grow this mango tree, first we have to start with this plant to protect it from the shade, and you're learning along the
For
way.
sure.
Can you share some, if anyone out there is looking to, again, get their own property, learn agroforestry, what are some of like the top lessons you learned? What would have you have done different? And anything you can kind of just share on
Sure.
that.
Sure. Well, there's so much, I couldn't put it all into one clip here, but there was one good book that I read called, I think it was called Tropical Fruit Gardening or something. It was because, there's not much information on gardening or planting, making a garden in the tropics, especially a food garden. That's mostly like in temperate climates like Canada and the US. So I found this one book that was from Northern Australia where it's the same climate as us. And it talked about the two seasons that we have. We have a wet season and we have a dry season. And there's things that you can grow in each season. And there's a lot of things that cross over, but it's just more difficult. So you really want to work with the season. So when it's really rainy, you can't grow tomatoes. You can't grow watermelons because it's just too much water, too many bugs. But in dry season, you can grow watermelons because you can control the water. You can grow tomatoes. In a wet season, you can grow sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes go like crazy. And bananas, bananas need a lot of water, and when we run out of water in Phuket for those couple months, you're not going to have much bananas. They're not going to have much success. But so if you keep the bananas kind of around your house where you can feed it, you can water them a little bit, then it works. So, and then also there's the agroforestry. There's a YouTube channel people can go to. It's called Agroforestry Academy, and they're all about gardening in the tropics. And basically, it's just about planting in succession, right? So you can durians, for example, take like 7 years to grow a durian tree, but you don't need to wait 7 years to get a yield from your property. You can be growing pineapples. You can be growing bananas, sweet potatoes, and this helps the trees grow, right? Because they like an ecosystem, they like other plants around them. And like rambutans, for example, when they're young, they don't want direct sunlight, so you have to keep them shaded. And if you keep them shaded with bananas, that's perfect. So I have one rambutan in my backyard. It's growing under the bananas, and it's about this tall now, but I've got a couple yields from the bananas as that's been growing, So by the time it's mature, there will be no space for the bananas anymore. And then it'll be tall enough that it can receive direct sunlight. So it's just things like this, and there's just not that much information in the tropics about how to do this stuff, so it was kind of like or had to dig up a lot of this stuff.
Do you think there is Thai information, maybe Thai videos in YouTube that just obviously because of the language barrier?
The Thais just know this stuff. They don't need to be. They already know how to do all this. It's a translation thing, and they do have one kind of near my house there. They have some. I can't even remember the name of it, but it's like a center for Thais to come and learn how to grow sustainably. And and I see what they do, and they do a lot of the same things that I do. Interplanting things and this kind of stuff.
Were you learning a lot from the people that were living on the Thais living on your land? Were they teaching you stuff?
A little bit. Like I saw what they did, and they always do things for a reason. And but yeah, you have to use your time and your energy wisely because you can't really work in the middle of the day on the farm because it's just too damn hot. You got to work in the morning and the evenings, and so we don't have these long days like in the West. In the summertime, it's like light until like 9 p.m. and you can work all day in your farm. Here, you only can work a couple hours in the morning, and a couple hours at night at most, because it's just too hot. It takes too much energy.
What's your schedule? Sure, just push that mic in a bit. That's okay. What's your schedule typically like when you're working your farm?
Well, I'm not working much on it at all anymore, because I have this business that requires so much time. I had another child after this last podcast. And then the fact that the property is going to be developed, right, it's discouraging. You know, I'm not going to, how much time am I going to put into somebody else's property? And they're not even going to look after it. They're just going to knock it down and build villas, right? So I just have like, just around my house, I just have bananas, and I have some, like I've planted one jackfruit from seed, which is like almost double my height now. And it's pretty cool to see that, but I'm not going to be planting any more trees just because it's like no point.
Even just for the learning experience.
No, because I just don't think I have that much time, you know?
Yeah. If you 8 months and
this, yeah, it's like these Burmese guys that are living behind my house. I had some bananas growing, and they stole the bananas. They cut it down and took my bananas. So I was like, oh my God.
how do you confront them at that point, or they're just kind of like, hey, we didn't know they're yours?
No, I did tell my landlord, and he let them know that don't steal my bananas anymore. But a lot of things have gone missing from around my house, but because I think they think it's just like it's in the public domain. You know, you read a lot about you read this one book about how to build a house in Thailand, and one of the things I read in there is construction materials. Thais think that's kind of like just in the public domain, that they can steal it like no problem, and so things have gone missing around my house for sure.
Tools or just material laying around?
For sure.
Yeah. And do you see it being used around the area, or like, wait a minute?
No, I don't see it, but I'm sure it is getting good use.
No, it is what it is. What it is. If you enjoyed this content, we're doing 5 clips like this a week. If you want to watch the full podcast, click here.